You think Ikaruga's hard, y'all ain't seen Mars Matrix. Mars Matrix is a fun game, till I die, which is like all the time. Think all I do is die in this game. Don't play Mars Matrix. It's pretty simple to figure out. Only one button does everything. Same button doesn't shoot, same button doesn't shrapnel, same button doesn't mosquito. Absorb all them bullets and shoot them back. Or hold it down and make a big bomb. Kill everything. Except right after, you gotta wait to use it again. So I die. Don't play Mars Matrix. Then you got this lightning blast they call shrapnel. Kills anything like it was no thing. Take that, you egg-sucking dog. But you gotta be right up in their grill or it don't reach. Why you won't give me another weapon that I want to use? Whenever I go use it, I die. Don't play Mars Matrix. Same company made this game, made Giga. You know Giga 2. Except I get past level 2 in that Wang, but not this Wang. Damn, gaps are tighter than a butt crack in the Speedo. Don't play Mars Matrix. Damn, this pow's hard as that time I played Dodo Patch. Except there, I can do tape. You know, rotate. Takes bullets longer to reach you. Not here, it's all wide and cattywampus. Game will drill your pickle, jerk your balls, and slap you for sleeping. Don't play Mars Matrix. Hey, get away. Can't have none of my cornbread. Hey! Damn it! Don't play Mars Matrix. Hey, what's going on in here? What are you doing running my show? Get off the mic. Nope, I'm about to credit feed this sumbitch. Show how it's... Oh, hey, what are you doing? No! Oh, no. Sorry about that. He keeps getting out of his cage. But you know what? He's right. Not everyone should play Mars Matrix, especially if you're like Timmy Boy here. This game is a beast, and the bullets are meaner than a wet panther. But if you love shmups and your idea of a good time is Giga, only 10 times harder, then please, go play Mars Matrix. I actually love playing Mars Matrix, as long as I can play it my way, with aggression and extreme prejudice. I'm no good at sitting back and dodging very dense patterns. I want to go get it, do some speed killing. Mars will let you do that. And how? For me, it's all about spamming the shrapnel, and I rarely use the regular shot, except for popcorn enemies. Mars is like Ketsui, where you gotta go after it and play aggressive, even more so. This weapon is so powerful that once you can rout the incoming enemies, it wreaks havoc like nothing else. In Mars, only bullets hurt you, not the actual enemies, so it's all about getting in their face and on top of them for quick kills. So I spend about 90% of the level using the shrapnel and alternating the mosquito at the right times, then using that invincibility to spam it even more. It's a grand way to play if you're going for survival instead of score. And believe me, unless you're good, and I mean really good, survival is the only thing on your mind. Timmy wasn't kidding when he said if you think Ikaruga's hard, don't play Mars Matrix. Unless you're a bullet dodging god, it's kill or be killed. Keep the screen clear best you can, and when it gets to be too much, hope your mosquito is charged and ready. Once you absorb bullets, you can either release them early, shooting them back in the opposite direction you're moving, or keep it held for a big time bomb. I mean, does this game look fun or what? It really is like Giga on crack. But the fun and games come to an end on the last level. The popcorn goes apeshit, and Mars Matrix will teach your grandmother to suck eggs. This is where any personal hope of a 1cc ends for me, and I simply hope the 2 credits that the game gave me is enough to weather the storm. It's all about your main weapon here and expert use of your shield, trying to keep the popcorn under control as it overwhelms the screen. And spamming the shrapnel isn't an option for most of the stage. I wouldn't blame anyone for taking one look at this and thinking, yeah, don't play Mars Matrix. Clearly, it doesn't want you to still be playing by this point and trying to get rid of you off the cabinet so the next poor chump can start pumping in quarters. I usually need a credit to get through this inescapable onslaught and have another credit left for the final boss, which has not 1, nor 2, nor 3, but 4 forms. Some are worse than others, but none are friendly. The brief moments that allow you to spam the shrapnel attack should be used excessively. The mosquito attack every chance you get, and hope your lives don't run out before your luck. Mars Matrix is one of the best shooters on the Dreamcast. It's brilliantly designed, a blast to play, and has short, creative levels. It can be played so many different ways, and also with a different, faster ship, but a narrower shot. And you can drive it like you stole it, spamming the shrapnel like it's going out of style. Like actual expert players far beyond my skill level do, absorbing far more bullets for points and score, and playing with a balance across all three weapons. It has a depth I'll never scratch the surface of, and a range elite mode that's even harder, if you can imagine that, and a whole host of extras on the Dreamcast, like unlockable credits and very useful upgrades, like a faster charging mosquito attack. But trust me when I say, none of them will save you for long. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the hardest games on the Dreamcast, and as cool as it is, if you're in the same boat as Timmy Boy, don't play Mars Matrix. Or if you're a junkie like me, go play Mars Matrix. So is Mars Matrix really harder than Ikaruga? I guess that depends on who you ask, or how you play it. What's not up for debate is its reputation, being one of the most well-known, best reviewed, and most popular shmups of all time, and released for many other systems like the GameCube, Xbox 360, PS4, Switch, and more. While not everyone's cup of tea, its status is legendary. But when playing for more than just survival, but actual chaining and score, Ikaruga is one of the hardest, most time-consuming to learn, and technical games ever devised. There's three types of people that play Ikaruga. Those who love it, those who hate it but really try to love it, and those who suck at it and secretly hate it but pretend to love it because everyone told them they're supposed to. The people who love it, truly love it, are the expert players. Not because it's hard, I mean it is, but it can also be learned and routed for survival, similar to other memory-heavy games. No, those who love Ikaruga don't play it for survival, and will look at you like you just left a steaming turd on their lawn if you tell them that you do. To truly play Ikaruga is to immerse yourself in the most demanding chaining and scoring system ever put to code, and its raison d'etre. At the other end, you've got the majority of people who've played Ikaruga and never made it past stage 2. They read all the glowing reviews, how it's one of the greatest shmups of all time, by reviewers who also never made it past stage 2, but pronounced it the second coming, and had to go out and buy it. For many, their very first shmup, and within 30 minutes, realize they have absolutely no idea how to play this game, nor a nun's chance in hell of getting anywhere in it, not even on easy mode. But all the reviews said it's amazing, so they say it too, even though it makes them want to pull their hair out in frustration. Finally, you have folks like me, and likely many of you, that say, "No sir, I don't like it." But I really want to. I respect its incredibly deep gameplay and chaining system. I understand the perfection it requires to progress beyond the halfway point, where the difficulty spikes out of control, and with tons of practice, I can even complete it. But do I enjoy it? No sir, I don't like it. And yet, Ikaruga has so much to like. Visually, the game is beautiful, not colorful, but intricate and unique. That's always a pleasure to look at. Orally, the music is fantastic, with classic tunes that are part of the reason I come back to it from time to time. And you don't need me to tell you that the polarity mechanic, where swapping ship color, changing which bullets you absorb, and doubling your damage against the opposite color was lauded by critics and players alike as a stroke of brilliance. Every difficulty mode completely changes the way you need to approach the game, and it allows you to practice any level that you've reached in the game from the menu. But to many players, learning to clear the game felt so dry, so mechanical, and memorization heavy that it sucked the fun out of all the brilliant concepts. In Ikaruga, playing with perfection isn't one way, it's the only way. But this ain't no game review, it's a brutal shmups video. And whether you love it, or hate it but pretend to love it, everyone agrees on one thing: Ikaruga is brutal as hell. Because to play Ikaruga the way it was designed to be, not how I play it, simply to make it through, but to use the chaining system and see how long you can maintain it, requires the near perfect execution of a cyborg. And you know what? That's probably why I don't like it, because I haven't earned the right to play Ikaruga the way Treasure intended. I can't play it that way. I'm not good enough, and most likely, neither are you. Every stage is meticulously crafted with the purpose of chaining your way through it, and if you're good enough to play it that way, it's a game changer. So much so that a game that you may not find fun at all to play yourself becomes an absolute joy to watch a master go to work. And a master is what it takes to do Ikaruga justice. So for this video, I did exactly that and brought in Maz, one of the highest scoring Ikaruga players around. He's achieved S++ rankings in every stage and is currently working on an elite 30 million plus point run. And he's one of those players that'll look at you like you just laid a turd on his lawn if you play for survival. So I did my part and brought a baggie to clean up after myself. Ikaruga is like an onion. It has layers. Play it for survival and you'll scratch the surface to expertly swap polarity, absorb bullets, and memorize the exact way you combine those skills to have any chance of progressing past stage 3. Peel back a layer and you expose the chaining system, where not only do you have to play expertly to survive, but now play a completely different way, picking and choosing how and what you kill, by selectively killing enemies in a specific order and color. Peel back another layer and you can add bullet absorption to maximize your score and rank, not allowing suicide bullets to leave the screen. Combine all three and you have a game that's so technically demanding and requiring such perfection that pulling off a no-miss, fully chained playthrough on all the levels literally takes not hundreds, but easily over 1,000 hours of grinding to achieve. And that's if you're good, like really good. For us mere mortals, it's only something we can sit back and watch in awe. And for those poor blokes that picked Ikaruga up as their very first best ever shmup, because so many reviewers proclaimed it so, quickly learn that they have no business playing it. Ikaruga is in fact a great shmup that almost nobody can actually play, or at least play well. You can tell how good a player is with how easy they make it all look. Having a hard time through this salamander section on stage 3? Try doing it while perfectly sniping each one of these enemies for chain. Fighting Shigi, the mid-boss, is hard enough, but speed killing it by milking the lasers and maintaining your chain the entire time, just so you can set up for the next section and gain more points, is often reserved for only the best of players. And this normally trivial section of Utetsugumi that even a novice can kill is actually a goldmine for score, having to use your twin shot to divide them by color, and ends up one of the most difficult areas to chain in the game, but for a huge bonus. Battling the stage 3 boss, which he damages each turret just enough without killing it, so it doesn't start spinning faster, and then once enough are near death, unloads the lasers to finish it off in one shot. The true beauty comes in the later stages, where despite the madness, he continues to farm bullets and chain enemies with cyborg-like precision in an area that most could barely survive. Stage 4 is where the difficulty ramps stratospherically for those learning the game, and this infamous flower section is notorious for many players throwing in the towel. And yet, to actually play this section for chain and score requires a combination of every advanced skill, precise execution of your single and twin shot, partial releases of your homing laser at just the right moments, careful dot eating to maintain your energy level, all combined and timed flawlessly to try and achieve a no-miss within this circle of madness. One could easily spend 100 hours on this section alone to try and perfect a no-miss strategy. According to Maz, he's put almost 1,000 hours into the game. That's what it takes to be this good at Ikaruga. And playing Ikaruga perfectly like this is what it's all about. Like watching a ballet with flawless timing and execution. It really is a pleasure and shows why it's an exceptional game for exceptional players that have put in the time. Instead of killing the final boss, Maz continues to milk it for points until just 1 second left on the boss timer before releasing his lasers to finish it off. I'm no good at Ikaruga. Maybe if I had 100 hours minimum to sink into it, I would be. It's that kind of game. Most of us won't ever experience this, and most of us have a better time watching the art in motion than actually trying to replicate it ourselves, myself included. But damn if I don't love watching it. Now we come to Psikyo. Damn, they make some hard games with deadly fast bullets. Strikers 2 always kicked my ass, and I did a segment on it in my Saturn video. Well, Gunbird 2, it's even harder. How hard is it? Probably the second hardest Psikyo game ever made after Dragon Blaze, at least that I know of. But it's also possibly my favorite one. The Dreamcast port is unique in that it has a special playable Capcom character not available on any other version, so it's the one I prefer playing the most. Gunbird 2 is like that adorable puppy that when you go to pet, almost bites your hand off. It's full of charm and creativity, has one of the most interesting cast of characters in a shmup, and lulls you in with its happy-go-lucky music. And then, it practically takes your head off. You're lucky to escape with your life. Psikyo makes some hard games, with few exceptions, but Gunbird 2 is arguably the second hardest they've ever made, right next to Dragon Blaze. Its difficulty comes from a single factor: insane bullet speed. As if Psikyo bullets weren't fast enough, clearing this game on a credit means ramping the rank up to a point where they're impossibly fast, way too fast to dodge reflexively. Memorizing each pattern and knowing in advance how to avoid it is the only way through most of the levels, and especially the bosses that unload on you faster than a virgin on prom night. Luckily, Gunbird 2 is expertly crafted and knows exactly what it is. The stages are incredibly short, no longer than a minute or two before reaching the boss, and all 7 levels can be cleared in under 15 minutes, making Gunbird 2 instantly replayable. But what Gunbird 2 lacks in length, it more than makes up for in its density, as every stage is packed with action. Memorizing Gunbird is like learning 2-minute-long bursts of mayhem along with a boss battle. And despite them having multiple forms and a large variety of attacks, they don't absorb that many bullets and also die quickly once you figure out the best way to take them down. Few games are as good for a quick blast as Gunbird 2. Helping you along is an ultra-powerful short-range attack that you can unleash when your level meter fills up. If you hold down the shot button, it will fire a much more powerful attack and drain the meter, but instead you can also use your short range and instantly kill most enemies, or do big damage on bosses. In many cases, more damage than using an actual bomb. It's risky, getting up close and personal with these bullet-spewing psychos, but once you get the hang of it, it's hard not to use it every chance you get. It's very similar to the shrapnel attack in Mars Matrix, only here it's even stronger and it drains your meter when used. I found it essential in the harder sections where I could take out multiple enemies at once before they launched an attack that I most likely couldn't avoid, or to instantly take out a section of a boss and avoid it attacking at all. Adding a ton of variety to all the madness is the cast of characters, all with their own attributes from varying speeds, different power level main and sub-weapons, short-range attacks, and bombs. From Alucard, who's fast and versatile, to Ein from Tengai, whose bomb turns enemy bullets into, roses? And it's why I mostly play the Dreamcast port of the game, for its one exclusive character not found anywhere else. Capcom's Morrigan, for 2 reasons. Not those 2 reasons. Okay, maybe a little. She's actually quite a fast character and has a powerful close range attack, so it lets me dart in and take out strong enemies before they get a chance to fire, as I hate sitting back and tap dodging bullets at the bottom of the screen. Hey, are you listening? The game's over here. Look, I don't blame you. The only other 2 female characters in this game are 9-year-olds. And if that's your bag, you may want to check outside your window for that surveillance van that's been parked out front. Yeah, they're here for you. Clear your browsing history before they kick down the door. I'll stick with the 300-year-old succubus, thanks. I enjoy all the little touches in each stage, from destructible environments to the masses of little people on the ground doing all sorts of things or running for cover, and even the dastardly villains straight out of an 80s cartoon, sneaking their way through the stage or doing something nefarious. Like on the western level where you can see them slowly sneaking up the screen from cactus to cactus, trying to reach the prize before you do. And they pop up before each boss fight looking ragtag. A cool addition on the Dreamcast version of the game is not only a 2-player mode. When you play Gunbird 2 players, each story section has the 2 characters interact. Some get along well, while others, not so much. So imagine how many different cutscene variations there are between each stage for all the combinations of characters. So you can play it all kinds of combinations with 2 players and see all the different scenes even when playing on your own. Pretty cool. And if you manage to make it to this psychedelic final boss and finish him off, you'll get to hang with a much happier puppers and choose your ending. Different ones for each and every character, which is also pretty cool, as most of them are usually pretty funny. That is, before it thrusts you into the second loop of the game. What, you thought you were done? Nope. There's another brand new level for you to try on the second round that you didn't play the first time. Much like most Psikyo games, the first few levels aren't always in the same order, and the one you didn't get to play on the first go-round will be waiting for you on the second. And oh my god, so will the bullets! Gunbird 2 is known for one of the most lethal, impossible second loops of any shmup ever made. Just the opening stage is far harder than anything in the first loop, and I had to save and practice it dozens of times to even have a chance of making it to the boss. It's several times harder than an already hardest of hard Psikyo first loops. and another reason to bring up this Dreamcast port. I like this revision because I like to use Morrigan and why I play it, but if you're an expert, you don't play the Dreamcast port. In an older video of mine, I did a lag test on both the Switch version and original Gunbird 2 on Dreamcast and found that both games have between 6 to 7 frames of delay. And you know me, I usually don't care and I just play and enjoy it. It doesn't really matter because I'm not that good. Not good enough for a second loop of Gunbird anyway. Well, in Gunbird 2, on the second loop, it starts to matter. And I've been playing it this way since the Dreamcast days. Your timing and bombing has to be so split-second perfect that an expert bringing their A game will still need all the help they can get because the bullets are so insanely fast. Even a couple frames can be the difference between life and death. It's one of the few games where I can say, yeah, it's that fast, and way beyond my pay grade. So I'll just chill with Morrigan and watch someone better than I pull off this madness, or at least pretend to. Yeah, I know, she's not real, but it sure beats getting my ass kicked by this kind of nonsense. Or getting raided by the feds, if that's what you're into. That van parked across the street is very real indeed. This next game, Border Down, might just be one of the best shooters that you've never played, or possibly never even heard of, which is surprising given its incredible pedigree. Developed by GRev or GRev and made up of former Taito employees, they worked on games like G Darius, Metal Black, and the Rayforce series. They even contracted with Treasure to co-develop games like Ikaruga and Gradius 5. Those are some heavy hitters, and if you ask me, Border Down belongs in the same discussion as it's one fine shooter in just about every aspect. And not surprisingly, much like all their other games, it's also one of the hardest. Border Down. Why are you so damn hard? Let me count the ways. 1. You don't have lives. The game simply has 3 paths for each stage: green, yellow, and red. If you start on green, when you die, you're shifted down to the yellow path. Die again, and drop to the red. Die a third time, and it's game over. This is what the game calls bordering down. These paths don't reset per stage. Once you border down, you stay there. Die on the red path and it's game over. There's no such thing as extends, aka extra lives. You can only earn your way back up one level, called border up, if you can manage to score enough points on a stage, and if you beat it well enough. More on that later. 2. This game has rank, and some mean rank at that. Much like Battle Garega, the strategy is to die on purpose sometimes to keep it under control, except dying on purpose here means bordering down a level to make it easier. Except now, to border back up, you need to score high enough with some flawless play to even get the option to go back up. Otherwise, you're stuck there. 3. To score high enough on a stage and get a chance to border up a level, just killing enemies doesn't cut it. You need the big points to fill that meter in the bottom right, and the only way to do that is with expert use of your brake laser. Destroying enough bullets and large enemies, and especially bosses, right before the time runs out, banks the most points. And you'll need to perform pretty flawlessly to fill that meter before the end of the stage. 4. This game has 4 final stage variants and bosses, and only one of them is even slightly kind, with the other 3 being punishment and certain doom for anyone but experts. How do you reach that semi-kind, somewhat benevolent final stage, you ask? Either by dumb luck, or most likely specifically dying on certain stages, while being good enough to no-death others, then bordering up at the right places to end up on the easiest path. Meaning that getting the easiest path isn't the easiest path. Dying on purpose in certain stages and sections, then playing flawlessly in others to stay on the right track is one of the only feasible ways to complete Border Down. So yeah, it's pretty damn brutal. But you know what? The great thing about Border Down is it doesn't matter if you beat it. What matters is how cool it is to explore the different paths and permutations of trying to make it to a specific final stage. Much like the Darius games, there's multiple ways to get there and different areas and bosses to see. Each color takes a different path through the level, crisscrossing at certain points. Some sections where you'd be descending, you're now ascending instead, and others are completely different, with extra bosses to fight at the end. You can play Border Down many times and find new ways to approach it, and new areas to play. And Border Down is so much dang fun. If you were a fan of G Darius and its gameplay, you'll feel right at home, from the way your ship controls, to the bullet patterns and enemies, to the brake laser that works like the Alpha Beam. You can even face off with the boss's own laser attacks. It plays like that game, only with some Ray Force mixed in, and it's heavily influenced games to this day, like Natsuki Chronicles, in its weapon selection and gameplay. The graphics work and set pieces are excellent, and the music is by former Zuntata member Yasuhisa Watanabe, so you know it's good. A single button controls your main forward shot, as well as your homing lasers, by simply tapping the same button. And just like G Darius, the closer to an enemy you are, the higher your rate of fire, so it pays to point blank. Using your brake laser uses up your shot power, and overusing it depletes it. So it's always a balance of using your beam to survive and cancel bullets, versus keeping a stronger shot. And you have 3 speed levels, at least 2 of which become necessary throughout the game, either to slow down for dense areas, or to speed up to avoid other fast attacks you otherwise couldn't. Just like G Darius, Border Down pulls no punches on the masses of tiny bullets that come flying your way. It has no problem throwing hell and a half at you, often to undodgeable levels, because the point is to strategically use your brake laser to clear them away, and for points. So technically, the game isn't being evil, it's being kind, by giving you a ton of scoring opportunity. And if you play well and manage to no-death a stage and its bosses, it'll often give you a second, and even a third boss to fight, for even more scoring potential. You do want to gain enough points to border up a level, right? Though good luck with a no-death on some of these bad boys that are about as extensive as some of their seafaring brethren. Seriously, if you love the Darius games and haven't tried Border Down, it's a must. It may not have the psycho fish, but it has just about everything else. Not many games are fun to play while they're busy kicking your ass, but this is one of them. Before I began this adventure, I got some expert advice from our friend Chinopolis, who has 1cc'd this game and found a foolproof path to the easiest, and I use that term loosely, final stage, dubbed 6A, versus the far more evil 6B through 6D. To reach 6A, you need to have no more than 50% completion across all stages, of any single color, green, yellow, or red. Otherwise, off to purgatory for you. And with death, changing which border you shift to, even a single unplanned death or inability to border back up exactly where needed, you're not making it to the promised land. Chinopolis follows this simple, yet not so simple path. You die on the first boss, then score high enough to border back to green for stage 2. On the next level, you do the same thing, die on the boss, and border back up. On stage 3, you need to die on the second segment of the level 2 times and drop all the way to red. Then not die and score high enough and border back up to yellow for stage 4. On stage 4, you die on the second segment to drop to red again and finish the stage in the red, without dying mind you, then score high enough and get back up to yellow. On stage 5, just don't die. Easy, right? A single mistake here ends your run. And if you can pull all this off, congratulations, you've made it to stage 6A. Of course, when I tried playing, that wasn't happening. Why? Because I was too proud and wanted to see how far I can get with the rank going out of control, damn it, and see where I would end up. So I no-deathed it all the way to stage 3, as the first 2 levels aren't that bad. Somehow managed to finagle my way through the out-of-control bullet madness that was desperately trying to kill me for not bowing to its omnipotence and taking some deaths, but finally put me down on the second phase of the stage 3 boss. I then made it all the way through stage 4 in yellow due to the slightly more forgiving rank, and again through stage 5 to the boss, all without scoring high enough to border up even once, mind you, because I ain't played this game enough yet to score that well. Then died and went into red on the stage 5 boss and somehow squeaked out a kill. So now, I'm expecting the worst. This is it. I've ignored the game's rules, sinned time and again by not dying when it insisted that I do. I'm ready for the worst. Give it to me. Huh? 6A? You mean I actually, by sheer dumb luck, purposefully trying to reach a hard, final stage, playing with my pants around my ankles, and not a care for where I end up, not once bordering up, somehow managed to still end up on the least ridiculous stage 6A? After all that work? I don't know whether to celebrate or cry. Damn it! Well, you know what? The final stage was a heck of a lot of fun, and not all that bad in the grand scheme of things. Even the final boss wasn't nearly as tough as some others earlier in the game. I guess this is the reward for doing everything right, or in my case, going out of my way to do everything wrong, and still end up somehow doing everything right. What can I say? The heavens smiled upon me. Of course, this is the most brutal shmups video we're talking about here. Not getting to check out the absolute nastiest of what the game has in store ain't gonna fly. So thankfully, our buddy Chinopolis took one for the team and recorded a couple playthroughs for us of other devilishly difficult final stages and bosses. The ones you don't want to end up playing and work so hard not to. Stage 6B is near identical to 6A, but the final phase of the boss isn't nearly the same pushover. Here, it unloads with a wall of laser fire that continues for what feels like forever, until you can do enough damage to finally send it into the next phase. 6C and D are a different story with a completely new stage, but most noteworthy, a 3-stage boss that's a protracted, 5-minute long memorization fest and battle of attrition against versions of your own ship. Most of the attacks are so fast, they're practically undodgeable by reaction, and you need to have almost every one memorized from each of the ships and not make more mistakes than you have lives to spare. And although Border Down allows you to practice its stages from the menu as a final middle finger, it stops at 5. So the only way to practice any of the final stages or bosses is to get to them over and over. Thank God for save states. So I think we all owe our friend Chinopolis a round for putting him through these outrageous couple stages for our entertainment. As hard as this game seems, and make no mistake, it's hard as balls, I also hope you came away seeing a hidden gem that's very worth playing. It's easily one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast now that I've spent more time with it. It looks, sounds, and plays like some of Taito's best work, because it is. Go play Border Down, although most likely it'll play you instead. Now, by all rights, the last game that I should be covering is Last Hope, or what many like to refer to as Last Nope, the original version, not the fixed pink bullets that came later. But I already covered that game really well in my top 5 most brutal Neo Geo shooters video from a while back. So if you want to check out what I call the hardest shmup, the hardest horizontal shmup that I ever played in my life, and have a few laughs, you can check that out later after this video. So for my last pick, I want to highlight an indie shooter by NGDevTeam, which I actually wanted to do in my Neo Geo video, but I didn't get to, as that game is near impossible to get on that system. But it's also been released on the Dreamcast. It's a precursor to the most current game, Super XYX, which I also did an in-depth video review for, and you can check out later if you're interested. It was worked on by Gryzor, who worked with NGDevTeam at the time on games like it and Gunlord, so you know if he's involved, the art design is going to be sick. And when NGDevTeam is involved, you know the music is going to be killer. And it turns out that the gameplay is exactly the kind that I dig in a shooter as well. An absolute blast to play from the opening level and hard as balls. I present NeoXYX. Playing NeoXYX is like running high on adrenaline, and the reason I enjoy it so much. The art design is smoking, the music is on fire, and the gameplay can be described in one sentence. Drive it like you stole it. Your ship is incredibly fast, on par with a game like Tatsujin, so you're fast enough to outrun almost any bullet on the screen. Your hitbox is tiny, so you can squeeze through the smallest of openings, surviving crazy moments where you could swear you were toast. And your Tiger Bomb is possibly the baddest homage to the Skull Bomb from Tatsujin. Man, do I love jumping in for a quick blast with NeoXYX. Now if you're worried that such a fast ship makes it impossible to dodge dense patterns of bullets, they've got you covered. You have an alternate fire mode that works just like playing Doronpachi and will slow down your ship for tight maneuvers. And you can use it the same way, holding both buttons down to go slow and releasing it for fast, making it extremely intuitive and convenient to use. Only unlike DDP, you'll be spending a lot more time going fast and using the slow shot sparingly for short bursts. NeoXYX is straight up old school and sped up Toa Plan style shooting with a flavor of bullet hell thrown in, though it rarely feels that way, except for some bosses. Enemies have that beefy Tatsujin feel to them, with mini bosses thrown into levels that take a pounding. But unlike that game, there's no tricky bullet AI here, Shots are either aimed or static and never leading your next location. Which is a good thing, as NeoXYX is tough enough as it is. It comes at you without mercy from the opening level, and if you can't keep the screen clear, you won't survive long. But what you do have on your side are some fun exploits that help even the odds. One example is that enemies won't normally fire once they're behind you, so you can pass them up and not worry about getting rear-ended. Another is the screen scrolling left to right, which you can take advantage of by keeping certain waves off the screen. If you don't see them, they usually won't fire or take pot shots at you. And there's no power-ups to worry about when you die. You're always at full power. Only bombs and small fragments are picked up, which will add up to a full bomb once you grab enough. And don't hoard them, as when you die, any extra you had saved up drops back to 2. Scandalous! NeoXYX never stops, with dense waves always coming at you from the moment the level starts, and even your death animation and respawn happens so fast that sometimes you didn't even notice you died. And in typical NGDev fashion, the game never takes itself too seriously, with funny comments emanating from your ship when you screw up or miss a metal chain and get reset to 1. The graphics are over-the-top Grisor art, all done while working with NGDevTeam on this and related games like Gunlord, very much showing what his future game Super XYX would look like, a combination of cyborg and organic gore, though without the fantasy vibe of his most recent game. The music is done by German composer Raphael Dill, one of the greatest talents in the industry, with amazing soundtracks from Gunlord, Last Hope, and Soldner X, just a few of his other incredible works. Not a bad track in the lot here, and all perfectly complementing the action on screen. NeoXYX is all killer, no filler, arcade gaming. The scoring system is simple, but difficult to pull off. You miss even a single medal, it resets your chain, requiring pretty flawless routing of every stage to be in the right place at the right time. And missing one results in the pilot thinking the same thing you do. Go! You're given plenty of credits to start, 7 in fact, which seems like plenty to clear the game, but those credits will go real fast with how quickly and often NeoXYX can kill you. And it'll take a few plays before you can clear it that way, let alone with just the 3 lives that you start with. And for those good enough to not continue at all, they'll have a true last boss waiting for them at the end that doesn't mess around. Did I say this game has 0 slowdown? This is where my 1cc ends. If you can get to it with an extra life and a few bombs saved up, you've got a shot. But otherwise, have fun. I'm happy to just get to it after having played this game enough times since its release. Now, it's not perfect, mind you, as there's some programming quirks present you'd think they'd have fixed, and it seems rushed out. The most obvious being a broken pause button. Yeah, you heard that right, to where it'll press twice and not pause correctly. You gotta quick tap it just right for it to stick. Hey, serves you right for trying to pause a shooter in the middle of the stage anyway. Arcade games ain't got no pause button, fool. Or you can hold it down for that turbo, slow-mo action if you're having a hard time. It also seems like your diagonal movement is actually faster than in either direction, making you even faster. Good for escaping sticky situations, but also takes some getting used to, as most shooters adjust your diagonal speed to match the X and Y axis. But there's some other odd quirks too, not present in the Neo Geo version, like your collected bomb fragments that sometimes disappear after you kill a boss and don't carry over to the next stage. I guess, use them or lose them. The bosses also have some exploits where you can position yourself just right and a lot of the shots will straight miss you, which I don't mind sometimes with how tough the game gets. I've also read reports of mid-boss bugs where the game can just freeze on you, but never had it happen to me despite playing the game many times. Most of these quirks are unique to the Dreamcast port, as I read the Neo Geo version is fine, but it also sells for about $2,000 now, so Dreamcast port it is. But no matter which system you play it on, playing NeoXYX feels like wrestling with a raw, imperfect arcade game that focused on all the important stuff and got it right, but didn't quite bother with the little details, like proper playtesting. NeoXYX is about as bare bones as it gets, aside from a wealth of screen position options to get your tate just right. It's no frills arcade action, and easy to just jump in and play for a quick blast, or to get your ass handed to you. But it's always breakneck and perfect fun when you're pumped to blow stuff up for the next 20 minutes to a killer soundtrack. Brainless twitch shooting, just how I like it. The world needs more shooters like NeoXYX. There were plenty of other really great and difficult shooters on the Dreamcast, like the Giga games, Under Defeat, Zero Gunner 2, and a bunch more. The Dreamcast was quite a machine, and one that I think we all wish had lasted a lot longer. But now that the Dreamcast is done, which system should we do next? Maybe the PS2? That had some killer games. Or maybe arcade? God, that'd be painful. Or maybe the original NES, Famicom, as I loved that system, and there's some real bangers on there that I'd like to show. However, first, look for a completely different type of video, for beginner shmups. I've been getting a lot of requests for games that anyone can just jump into and enjoy, but also learn from and improve. Games that even Timmy can finish. Okay, maybe not Timmy. But if you really enjoy these brutal shmup series, I've been making them for a long time. I started with the PC Engine, and since then I've done the Mega Drive, the Xbox 360, the Saturn, the Neo Geo, the PS1, and a bunch more. And if you want to see more of them, I created a playlist, and you can check them all out right here. So until next time, welcome if you got 'em. Go play Mars Matrix.